Welcome back to Fantasy Fiction Friday. I'm so glad you're here. Could you use a little escapism? God knows I could. I think it's important to point out, yeah, we going through it right now. People are angry. Shit's popping off, but it's very important that you take care of your mental health. And it's okay to take a moment, take a breath. Take a moment for self-care. Okay, so let's get into it. We are on Rain the Third, Iris's Tale from the Ladies of the Lily Dystopian Tales of the Fae. If you're new here, the Ladies of the Lily Dystopian Tales of the Fae is an anthology of short stories where we follow a colony of fairies. It is dystopian. There's no book boyfriends or happy ever afters here. So let's get into it. Rain the Third, Iris's Tale. Good morning, Princess Iris. I had no desire to open my eyes. I could never understand why it was necessary for me to wake at daybreak. Helen placed my breakfast tray at the foot of the bed. She wore a long brown gown with a tattered hem. Why did none of the servants wear shoes? I wondered. I was annoyed, but it should not have been with her. Like me, she was simply doing as she was told. I was sure she too would rather be sleeping. I took a long drink of my freshly squeezed juice, rubbed my eyes, and sighed. Do I have anything planned for the day, Helen? Yes, you have tea with the Ladies of the Lily, she responded. That's all? It was hours away. What was I to do to fill my time? I couldn't go back to sleep even if I tried. I was awake and ready for another uneventful day. I shifted in my bed, and the tray toppled, spilling the contents everywhere. Princess, I will take it to be laundered right away, Helen said. No, I'll do it, I replied. I had nothing to do anyhow, and it would be fun to see how the lower half lived. After Helen helped me dress, I dismissed her, gathering my bedding, and descended the grand staircase. When my guard stopped me, Princess, where are you going? To the laundry, of course. Why else would I be carrying my bedding down the hall? Here, let me, he demanded, snatching them from my hand. I gripped tightly, yanking them back from him. No, I will do it. At least let me escort you, for your protection and safety. What an odd thing to say. They were just fae. We all served the same king, my brother, Rain the Third. It occurred to me, I didn't even know where the laundry was. So I allowed him to accompany, secretly showing me the way. Princess, a strange voice greeted me with a sound of surprise as I entered the room, and he kneeled in front of me. They let children work in the laundry? I asked, ushering the boy to stand. Yes, but I'm not a child. He was shorter than me. No shoes, of course. The hem of his trousers were also in need of repair. Did these fae never bathe? His orange hair, well cut above his ear, was in desperate need of a good wash and comb through. Nonsense. You can't be much older than 12, boy, I said. I'm not a boy. She mumbled, with her head bowed. My name is Callie, but everyone calls me Cal. I looked at her face. Bright golden eyes, and soft golden hair with orange lowlights, and pink cheeks and full lips. Yes, of course she was a girl, and a beautiful one at that. Not that anyone could tell with that get-up she wore. If she had any curves at all, they would be covered by the oversized shirt that hung to her knees. Why dress that way? I asked. I sometimes work 3 jobs a day here in the laundry, the gardens, and gathering wood. I find I can work much faster when I'm not wearing skirts. Oh, you're smart, I said. She seemed taken aback, though she said nothing. Her body language had said it for her. Had I said something wrong? Had I insulted her? I mean, I certainly had not meant to. And then there she was, this beautiful young thing, not any older than I was, with her days filled with things to do and places to go, while I filled my time idly. My life was so boring, and hers was so full. She fascinated me. I wanted to learn more about her, and a part of me wanted to be her. Her life seemed to matter. I was just the sister to the king, looking for a husband. I would one day bear children and become a mother, but nothing else was expected of me. I was given anything and everything that I could want, with little more than a wave of my hand or the snap of my fingers, and it was all just so boring. I wanted more than that. I wanted to see everything, do everything. I wanted to know not just of the things that I had read, but I wanted to live them. And her life was so full, her days were so full, and I envied that. When will these be ready? I asked. Your bed will be made by nightfall, Princess, Cal responded. It already is. Please call me Iris, I responded. Yes, Princess, she responded, her voice low and soft. The way she called me Princess sent shivers up my spine. I liked it. I wanted to hear it again. Not from everyone. Just her. In her soft, low voice with the gravel to it that reminded me of pepper. I regretted asking her to call me by my name, and I'd never much cared if the Fae addressed me by title or my name. Nonetheless, they all called me Princess. But coming from her mouth, her seductive peppered tone, I could listen to that forever. And must you wake me so early every morning? I asked, feeling annoyed. The same as the day before, and the day before that. It'll be the same tomorrow, to be sure. I hated mornings. I hated mornings. I had always hated sleeping at night and waking during the day. I much preferred the silence and the peace of the night. Helen, I jumped from the bed, run down to the laundry, and ask for the woman named Cal. I need to know where she is, or where she will be working later today. So I crossed the floor, biting my nails and stomping my feet, waiting for Helen to return. It was taking her so long, I wondered impatiently. I repeatedly peeked out my door, looking for her to return, not knowing what to do with myself. Janice! Okay, I love my pet fly, Janice, but she's such a diva. Every time I turn the camera on, she's got to be in it. Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe you just want to see Janice do her little cameo. Okay, Janice, sorry. Let's back to it. The wait was excruciating. And finally, I said when Helen returned, and Helen informed me that Cal would be gathering wood just after lunch and planned to do so until nightfall. Go ask if she would mind if I joined her. Helen's eyes widened at my request. No. Wait. Would it be better to surprise her? I don't know, Helen stuttered. Yeah, I'll surprise her. I could hear my heart beating excited. I need trousers. You don't possess any, Helen said, as if she could not, just go find me some from somewhere. I was agitated at her lack of help. It had not been a difficult request, honestly. I stomped across the hall and threw open the doors to my brother's room. A lovely Fae, who was not his wife, jumped out of bed, pulling a sheet over her body, her tangled hair flashing wildly around her face. Iris, what do you want? Rain asked. Trousers. I answered, opening his closet door and flinging hangers from one end of the bar to the other side, searching for the perfect pair. Whatever for? He asked. I'm going to gather this afternoon, and I need something to wear, I said. Obviously. Gathering. Can't you find something better to fill your time? Like perhaps finding a husband, he snapped. Brother, you are so dull. I pulled a brown pair with emerald green trim that matched my hair. Perfect. Why trousers, he asked, a slight tone of annoyance. grumbled from his lips. I had interrupted them, and I was sure he wished to return to corrupting the young lady taking up space in his bed, because it's easier to gather in trousers rather than skirts, rolling my eyes, suggesting how ignorant he must be to not know of something that I had learned only the day before. I took the brown pants and the beige shirt waist with ruffles down the front. Those would suit me just fine, and I returned to my room, studying my reflection from every angle in the full-length mirror, pleased with my appearance and feeling confident, yet a little self-aware. Helen had put my hair up in a messy bun on top of my head with a few tendrils hanging down over my shoulder, framing my face. I should have thought what the working fae would think of me, but all I could think of was my hopes that Cal would look upon me favorably. I had no idea where they gathered from. I had to ask my guard, and he led me to the field, and it was far more vast than I thought it would be. And it was far further than a few steps that I had anticipated. I searched for her, but she was nowhere to be found, and the field was so vast. And the guard caught my eye. I stomped straight up to him and demanded he tell me where to find Cal. I don't know them by name, he informed me. The sheer incompetence of that man. After a long description of her, right down to the way she sounded, he informed me that he did not know who I spoke of, though my description could not have been more clear. What was not to understand? He said the gatherers worked along the perimeter of their aviary, and I should start there. Then he insisted he escort me. Why must they follow me everywhere? I had no desire to be under constant guard. Besides, I already had an escort. Now I have two. However, I would surely need his guidance, as I had not ventured this far from the tree. I might not be able to find my way back. Annoyance at his presence filled the air as he led me by the silver blades of grass toward the low-lying tree of apples, lemons, and such that lined the rim of the aviary. It took some time to find her. In fact, we had not found anyone in quite a while, and I began to feel discouraged, and I thought myself silly for thinking I would find her easily. I thought they had work quarters. I didn't know they'd wandered the grounds aimlessly. Like, what if someone got lost? And then we found her under a lemon tree. She was indeed surprised to see me. Not only in her presence, but dressed so informally. Am I not fabulous? I declared with a half spin, my arms out, and a shrug of my shoulders. A coy smile crossed my face. I raised my eyebrows and wiggled my nose. I was flirting. I had not meant to, but I couldn't help myself. Flirting had come easily to me. It always had. I used it to get my way. When my father was alive, he would have given me the world if I asked nicely. All the men gave me my every wish, and all I had to do was play coy. I mean, maybe it was because I was a princess, but whatever. But Cal was different. She hadn't wanted anything from me, nor did she appear to have a desire to please me, except for the expectation to do as I say, simply because of the station I was born into. And she showed me at my request how to gather, bundle, and the best way to carry wood for fire. And she showed me what to take and what not to. Fire! We heard from a short distance, and she instinctively ducked while straightening my posture to have a better look. And she grabbed me by the arm and pulled on it. Get down! Do you want an arrow through the head? My eyes widened, looking from side to side. I had no idea what she was talking about. Who would want to shoot us? I whispered. My head laid on the ground with my hands over it next to Cal. Well, not at us. Especially not at you. They're hunters. Shooting at a hummingbird, woodpecker, or crickets are the hardest for them to hit. They're jumpy. and they have a harder shell, so they have to be closer to penetrate them. Hunters? Who are the hunters? Like the guards who also carried bows and arrows? That's how we get our meat, princess, Cal said, sitting up. I followed her lead, trusting that we were safe. There are also silkworms that live on the trees to the west. We try not to eat those because we can use their threads for cloth. And there's cotton we harvest for clothes as well. We don't eat that either. There's rows of grapes and rows of trees. Nothing grows that way naturally. She pointed to the horizon past the tree at the rows and fields filled with stunning life. And we talked as we strolled slowly. My guard was close by, I was sure, but I was unaware of his presence. I had dismissed him, though he wouldn't have left me alone. Or, he may lose his station. Or worse. How do you get the apples and the lemons from over there? I was enthralled with all she was teaching me. I'd never thought of where everything had come from. It was always just brought to me, ready to eat. We use carts on wheels. It takes up to 4 fae to gather and wheel them back. Or we can roll the round fruits. It's a hard day's worth, but it's worth it. I mean, a single apple can feed many. Some of the plants are poisonous, so it's important to know what you're gathering and where from. We've learned that the hard way, she continued. The hard way? I thought. I was having a hard time understanding all she was telling. But still I listened intently, waiting for more. I wanted to know everything, see everything, experience everything. And she was teaching me so much. Come with me. She took me by the hand, and I felt my cheeks grow flush from the warmth of her touch, and she pulled me up and we fluttered high in the sky. I had not flown in so long. It was exhilarating. If we go south, all you see is the House of the Giants. It takes the entire skyline. Now, we had reached the glass walls of the aviary. I had never seen it. I'd only heard of it. And I reached out and I touched the glass. We really couldn't get out. Look over there. She pointed beyond the wall. That's what we call the event horizon. You see where the glass ends in a straight line and everything beyond it is dead, as if it's been burned. Yet there's no history of fire. And I looked up to the sky at what she had called the event horizon, and I couldn't find a single ray of sun. It was a darkened haze, shrouded in shades of gray. But just as the grass was a clearly defined line of green life, the sun shone with it, on our side only, and her hand went to my shoulders. I loved the feel of her touch, and I had wanted for more. She had turned to the right, pointing over my shoulder from behind me. The warmth of her breath swept my neck as she spoke. That's where the dark mountain is. Now, I could hardly make out the outline of the mountain range behind the air. It did look like low-laying clouds rather than smoke. Is it covered in smoke? I asked. There's no fire. No flames. I think it's ash, we both said at the same time. There are many theories. One that makes the most sense to me is that the volcano within the dark mountain blew its top, leaving the air tainted with ash. The giants, having some sort of magic, cast a spell so everything here could remain alive, and then built the aviary to house all the resources they would ever need. And with their magical spells, they created the perfect environment for all to survive. It would explain why all of these things that are not indigenous to this land here, it's because they transplanted it. I think, please take no offense, I think that with all the power of the king and the royalty that they do possess, it's all an illusion, princess. I think that this is the giants' world, and for whatever reason, they allow us to live in it. She called me princess again. So you sit around contemplating this? Like, where did these things come from, and why are we here? I asked. Such thoughts had never even crossed my mind. Well, yeah. What do you talk about? She crooked her head to the side. Well, we mostly drink tea and talk about books, I responded, feeling as if it seemed silly, trivial, shallow. What do you read? She asked. She was interested in my life, and I was with hers, and my cheeks grew warm. I couldn't have hidden my smile if I tried. Well, fiction, fairy tales, make believe, I responded. Why? She crooked her head to the side and looked me in the eye. We were the same in so many ways, yet so very different. It's fun, I responded. Oh, I don't know how to read, she said, as a matter of fact, like it was totally normal to not read. And then it dawned on me. Well, of course she did not. What had I been thinking? When I was in class with tutors learning of things that never were, she had been educated on how to survive and provide for the entire colony. With all my formal education in tutoring, I was so naive. She had taught me more in one day than in more than 16 years of schooling. I can teach you if you like, I offered, and that brought a smile to her face with a soft blush to her cheeks, and her eyes sparkled in the sunlight with delight at the thought. I had hoped it was an opportunity to spend time with me, because I had wanted to spend every waking moment with her. I would like that very much, princess, she responded. Come on, we're burning daylight and there's work to be done. By the end of the day, I had gathered half a bundle. I had never felt so proud of myself. My feet ached and my back was sore, and my brother's clothing was stained with dirt and sweat, and it was so delightful. I had contributed, learned. I lived that day in a way I'd never experienced. I wanted more of it, more of her, and I followed her and turned in our day's work, and I was given a voucher good for half a loaf of bread. That comforted me. No, that confounded me. Was food not free? And she did that hard work every day just for dinner? So against the advice of my guards, who had done nothing to help, they just stood and watched from afar. I guess that's what I told them to do, but even still, they had been paid quite handsomely for the nothingness they provided. And she took me to the bakery where we turned in our vouchers and received our bread. It wasn't warm or soft. It was stale and cold. And hard. And I took a single bite, deciding that it simply wouldn't do, and threw it in the nearby trash can. Come to my room for dinner, I invited her. I'll have Helen draw you a warm bath. Not realizing that it would be the wood we had spent the better half of a day collecting used to warm it. Cat was in desperate need of a bath. I don't know how long it had been for her, but it had been most certainly too long. I had bathed in the morning, and I too was desperate. I needed to be cleaned as well. I can't go up there, it's not allowed. She refused me. No one had ever refused me before. I liked that too. I laughed. Of course it is silly. You've been personally invited by royalty. Come with me. I took her by the hand and pulled her along with me. Nobody questioned us as if they had questioned us. And if they had given a few glances or questioning looks, I hadn't noticed. Your bed's so big, she said, entering my room. Then the sitting room was on the other side of my bedroom, and the bath across from that behind a large door that had been painted red to match the red rose decor of the quarters that I called home. What was she talking about? Were not all beds as big as mine? Were they not all the same size? I gave her a questioning look. You should stay the night. I haven't had a sleepover since I was a child, I sang, and I was thrilled to have her in my company. I was thrilled to not be alone. I was thrilled over the non-existent moon to have a break from my personal reality. I wanted to share my life with her, and she had shared hers with me. Well, I could. No one would miss me. I live alone. She seemed to be hesitant. I gave her a welcoming and excited smile, the kind that makes the tendons on my neck stick out. I was enduring. I know, because she shook her head at the affirmative. Alone. She lived alone. No one walking in or bothering her with trivial nonsense at all hours of the day. Oh, I envied her. After work in the morning, how will I wake up? She added. Oh, Helen wakes me with the daybreak of every day, no matter how much I protest. Who wakes you? I was sincerely curious. I never could wake early without a little help. She seemed confused, and her eyes narrowed, and her cute little nose wrinkled. The bell the guard rings every morning wakes us all, she said, pausing between each word and narrowing her beautiful eyes. I felt so stupid. Like, how did I not know that? There was so much I hadn't known about how the Fae of the lower branches lived. It was nothing like I had envisioned. I truly believed they existed just like me. Well, maybe not exactly like me, but, close. I'd envisioned it all wrong. But I was learning. And while the bath warmed over the hearth, we sat at the small dining table in my sitting room. I watched, intensely smiling at the delight she found in each bite of fresh berries, meat, and fresh bread smothered in warm honey sauce. Such small things that I had taken for granted brought her so much delight, and her delight ran through my body with pure joy. Sorry, my beautiful besties, if you want that next part, you gotta buy the book. I burst into the throne room. I knew when my brother was not in his bed, I would find him there. Now, he had been meeting with the master of the guard, and I sat crossing my feet at the ankle and shaking the top one with impatience while I rehearsed my prepared speech with my inner monologue. They had been discussing turning the royal guard into a militant force for the protection of all the Fae. Protection from who? I wondered. No one could get in and no one could get out. We were the only ones under the protection of the aviary. I sat knowing my place and waited for the meeting to come to an end and the men to leave before addressing my brother. It was not the conversation I had planned and spent the entire morning rehearsing in my head. Why do we need weaponry? What will we do with a militant guard? I asked. My voice raised with condensation. I sounded stupid, to be sure. I may have been the princess, but I was still just a woman. For our protection. Protection from who? There's no one around, I rolled my eyes. Something I did often when talking to my brother, who was nearly 2 years my senior. The giants. The raven, he responded. Now, I had heard the raven pose some sort of threat, but I'd never witnessed it. I'd never heard tale of anyone being hunted or harmed by it. He had decimated some of our crops in the past, but nothing more than that. And as for the giants, the one that did visit most days, she spent all her time with the raven and let us be. Not that she had not visited the tree and the guards would attack her feet, but she would just brush them off with a booming laugh and then leave. Again, no one ever was harmed as a result. We cannot take down a giant. It's their world, and we're just existing in it because they let us, I said, with thoughts of cows and her luscious voice that filled my head. He put his fingers to his temples as if I'd given him a headache. Women are so daft, he mumbled. All women, or just me? I asked, narrowing my eyes in annoyance. You are the most educated woman in all the realm, and still you say incomprehensible things like that. This is why you need men. None of you would survive without us, he retorted. Funny, I thought without all those in service. And he as well, we wouldn't survive. What little I had learned, a woman had taught me. Sometimes I hated him, and he was my brother, and I loved him, but sometimes I swear we could square up. Brother, you should visit the infirmary and have yourself tested for syphilis. I do think you've gone mad, I spat back. In my frustration, I had forgotten why I had sought out his presence in the first place. I'd been thrown off by the absurdity of his plans that would come to pass, no matter how needless they had been. I mean, the King's Guard would become the King's Army. Why have you come? His voice was stoic. My heart raced with anticipation as it came rushing back to me. I had something wonderful, magical to tell him. I've met someone I wish to marry. I bounced in my seat, each word coming out more excitedly. His mouth turned up. Now that is good news. He was a pleased with himself smile, as if my life had anything to do with him. Who is he? Her name is Callie, but she works in the gardens and the laundry, and I was giddy and speaking quickly and filled with so many things I wanted to say, and I wanted to tell him everything. The lower class? No. He hadn't even given so much as a moment's pause to consider. He failed to ask a single question, and I immediately stopped talking, though my mouth remained open. What did he mean, lower class? Why had that mattered? You absolutely will not be marrying below your station, he said in attempts to dismiss me. I'm the daughter of the king, sister to the king. Everyone is below my station, I debated. You will not marry from the lower branch. Find someone more suitable. He actually thought that would end the conversation. Excuse me. He may be the king, but who did he think he was? He could not, he would not deny me my love. What about Lily? She was from the lower branches and father kept her. I wasn't going to leave. I wasn't going to let him take this from me. I had asked for very little from him, and I always gave credence to his word. And this time he would give me what I wanted. I would have the last word. Dad was the king, and his word was law. I am not him, but I am king, and now my word is law. I forbid it. Now leave. His voice raised in a sound that reverberated the walls and rang through my ears. My anger ran hot through me. That would not be the last of it. Cal would be my wife. Oh, and there will be a party in a week's time. The queen's pregnant. Get a new gown made. He waved his hands toward the door. I had been officially dismissed from his presence. Congratulations, I said condescendingly. Did he honestly think that I was going to attend his stupid party? There was no way I was going to go unless Cal would be permitted to attend with me as my fiancé. What does he want now? The king had summoned me. Helen tells me you've not had a gown made for the festivities, he started before I could take my seat alongside him. The queen sat across from me, her face glowing. She was an exquisite fae, among the most beautiful I'd ever seen. He had turned out to the others for physical satisfaction. Oh. How he turned to others for physical satisfaction was beyond me. I would never. I'm not going unless Cal's on my arm and announced as my betrothed. I tried to bargain with him. Surely he would see my resolve and come to his senses. That's never going to happen. Furthermore, I have informed my army that she is not to be permitted into your rooms or anywhere near the top branch, effective immediately. I stomped my way from the room without excusing myself, leaving my meal behind. I couldn't even imagine eating. Oh, my heart was broken, but not my resolve. You must eat. Helen sounded worried, and she and I had always been close. She had cared for me, and I think she would have even if she hadn't been paid to. And she had been my nanny before becoming my handmaid and then my assistant. Without a word, I ran my eyes over her, examining her from head to toe. She still wore the same brown dress, tattered and torn. Helen, trade me dresses. Princess, she questioned, not understanding the meaning. I'll give you my gown, the one I wear now. You look terrible and need a new gown, I half lied. I mean, she did look something awful, but I was more in need of her dress than she was of mine. So she slipped it off, standing naked in front of me, and I threw my gown in her direction, and it fell to the floor. She bent over to pick it up, and by the time she stood, I had slipped on her dress and was walking towards the door. She tried to speak, but I would not hear it. I did not answer to the help, no matter who they were. Then I noticed her feet bare and remembered they didn't wear shoes. So I slipped my slippers off and kicked them in her direction. Here, take these two. I had honestly hoped she would wear them. So I descended the grand hall as quickly as my wings could carry me. I had only been to Cowes once, but I was sure I knew the way. The king may not have allowed her to come to me, but I could go to her. I would spend the entirety of my existence in search of her, if need be. I would denounce my title to be with her. She was all that mattered to me, and I had every intention of spending my life with her. I fell asleep on the hard, cold bed, and my feet dangled off the end. I wished for a pillow, but I would forgo those comforts. I was well aware of what I was giving up. And I knew once she'd returned home and was wrapped in my arms, it would all be worth it. Blinking, my palms rose to my eyes in attempts to rub away the sleep, and white streaks glowed through the comforting blackness behind my closed eyes. And I was interrupted by the ringing of the morning bell that brought with it the realization of where I'd slept. A feeling of aloneness lingered in the air. She wasn't there. Without splashing cold water on my face or stopping for a morning pee, I ran to the laundry, searching for her, asking for her, frantic desperations shuddering through my words, but nobody had seen her. She was gone without a trace, and I knew there was only one person who knew where she had gone. I loathed facing him. I ascended the grand hall and burst through the doors into my brother's bedroom, and to my surprise, he was alone in bed. Where is she? I screamed in response, and he jumped awake, startled and annoyed, and he jumped from the bed. I twisted my head to avoid the view of his bare tushy facing me. Guard! He ignored my onslaught of acquisitions and questions as he struggled to fit his wings through the back opening of his robe. He had not flown or enjoyed a walk in a long while, and his waistline was suffering from it. And I had wanted to rip the ill-fitting robe from him. I relished in the image of tearing his wings right off his back fat. What have you done with her? My voice grew louder and trembled with desperation and rage. Take her to her rooms. She is to be put under lock and key. Arrange for her rooms to be guarded at all time. She is to be under quarantine for 2 years' punishment for the crime of disobeying the direct orders of the king. The last words he paused between each syllable as his eyes found mine. And they locked there in a magnetic stare. I thought my stare would drive horror through his veins, but it only served to annoy him more. The guard threw me over his shoulder, and I punched at his back and kicked at his front, screaming, "Where is she? Did you send her to Lily's?" And the guard, who stood as tall as two of me and weighed more than 3 times as much, used brute force to easily lift me, throwing over his broad shoulders, and he removed me from the king's presence with little more than the flick of his pectoral muscles, and his shoulder bone dug into my stomach, and I could feel muscles under the weight of me. They didn't even flex as he threw me on my bed. I landed softly onto my mattress filled with feathers and comforting furs. Helen brought me my dinner. My eyes locked to hers, and a scowl formed on my face as my eyes narrowed with anger, and pure hatred fired in my belly. Somebody had to have told on me. I had not even spent an entire day in the lower branches. It had to be her. Nobody else knew. I could have killed her where she stood. Without a word, she left as swiftly as she came. Next to my plate was a scroll bound with a single thin red ribbon, and it read, "By royal decree, no woman shall be found wearing apparel that is not associated with her sex. Women must wear dresses no shorter than their ankles. Women will not be permitted to wear pants or trousers, no matter the length. Women must wear their hair no shorter than their shoulders. Punishment by fine or banishment." I was sure the posters had hung in all the commons on every branch. But how petty could he be? I mean, it was one thing to imprison me for 2 years. Why punish Cal and all the working women, for that matter? I mean, he had no idea how difficult it was to labor in full skirts. And he was punishing them for my actions. And there was no way out of it. It had been Rain's first decree. Much for joining me today on Fantasy Fiction Friday. If you want to know what happened to Cal, maybe she'll pop up in the next story or the one after that. Who knows? Who's to tell? And of course, if anything gets too dark, too disturbing, too violent, too spicy, I do skip over those scenes. They can be found on KU or on the Zon. The title of the book is The Ladies of the Lily, subtitled Dystopian Tales of the Fae, by me, Genevieve Gravel. I do look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, until then, you are valid, you are worthy, and you are loved. Okay, bye!